Hi, Tony Poulos here at DSP Leaders World Forum in sunny Windsor. Today I have with me Chris Lewis from Lewis Insights and also Lasha, well let me get this right, Lasha Tabidze from, he's the Chief Digital Officer at Veon. Welcome to both of you. We just had a fabulous session talking about the market perspective, the digital services opportunity. And I have to say, it comes up all the time, what are these digital services opportunities for telcos? And some of the things that came up really concerned me. And one of them was, Chris, that we talked, one of the first points that was brought up is what can hyperscalers teach operators? Or are they a threat to operators at the moment? What were your thoughts on that?
I think in much analysis that's done around the industry, we see very much hyperscalers working with the telcos. I think one comment on the panel was they don't want to go all the way down to the network and the access side, and I can see why they don't. It's a very different discipline. What they're doing at scale, hyperscalers, is great from an IT side, and I think the role of telco is very much additive to that. Now, of course, there's a multi-layer relationship between telcos and hyperscalers, because many telcos are using those hyperscalers to do a lot of the transformation, both the infrastructure and people like AWS, more on the data side with Google Cloud and so on. So yeah, it's a complicated relationship, and they obviously come with scale from at a global level. The local reach of the telco and extending that local reach to hyper-local services and hyper-personal services is something that I don't believe the hyperscalers have on their agenda. They've got a lot bigger fish to fry at other parts of the market.
Is the last mile the real differentiator then for network operators? Lasha, in your case, is that the point?
Absolutely. First of all, I would like to say that very good quote, being hyper-local. This is the most important and the most powerful tool telecom operators have, because we are very close with the regulation, by law, so no hyperscaler will want to go in every market and become hyper-local. So if we go and tap into the market of sovereign cloud, sovereign services, hyper-personalized, hyper-local, using the local languages to deal with our customers, I think it will be no competition, but it will be a very complex cooperation together with hyperscalers.
Well, I wanted to raise this point with Chris first, because I know what your answer is going to be, Lasha, but should CSPs, or DSPs as we're now calling ourselves, stick to the business of connectivity, or should they expand into digital services big time? Chris, what do you think?
Well, I mean, let's face it, the connectivity is the bedrock, is the basis upon which services are built. But let's remember that, we come from the world of voice originally, where we're allowing people to communicate, so the pure connectivity is not enough. And the other services that we can layer on top, as we've seen, certainly in the UK with people like EE trying to get more into the gaming market, trying to get closer to customers. The notion of super apps was mentioned, I noticed on the panel again as well. So they are trying to get closer to the customer. But fundamentally, connectivity is a great business. In markets where the ecosystem and the broader economy is mature, let's say in the areas of finance or healthcare and the like, then it's unlikely that telcos will break into those markets. But I'm sure, Lasha, do you want to comment from your point of view?
Well, I want to raise the point with Lasha, because he said in his session that customers are not looking for services, they're looking for solutions. I mean, that's a really hard solution. Solutions are completely different to services. You've got to offer something complete to them. How are you managing that with so many customers in your varied markets?
First of all, when we think about the connectivity, it's not about telcos. We have to step out of that. We just connect people. Connectivity also means how we connect with people. So having daily interactions, having lots of data, behavior, their pains, their wishes. So that's how you step out of being just connectivity, as we all like to say, as a pipe, and you create the services which are meaningful for the customers. But to do this, first of all, you have to put at the center the customer. You have to really understand what customer needs are.
Yes.
And that's how we transformed Veon from telecom to service co, which happens to have the telecom license, so having the brilliant connectivity business, but on top of this, providing financial services, educational services, healthcare services, and just recently tapped into the ride-hailing business, which is also very interesting.
I think you may be the exception because as an industry, we don't have a great reputation for delivering over-the-top services, to be honest with you. Chris, what do you think? Are we getting better at that?
I think we are. I think we must bear in mind that the origin of this industry was to the point connecting not even people, it was connecting buildings. You know, we saw a telephone on the hallway that if you're lucky enough, your butler answered it, Tony. You know, rather than you people answering individually. Whereas actually now we've gone right to the end-to-end service includes connectivity, but it also includes the Wi-Fi, it includes the devices, it includes the apps. And we are gradually getting better. And I think one important point, which didn't really come up on the panel this morning, was about the visibility that the organizations have with observability, what we used to call network management, but you know, and to Lasha's point about the data that we have about customers, this industry has generally been fearful of using its data and the knowledge of customers. And I thought Chris Holmes raised the point about someone texting him from their service provider saying, do you want to double your amount of data? Well, in my mind, that's a ridiculous question, unless it's in the context that he's already overusing the amount of data he has. Because in many cases, most of us only use, you know, a handful of gigs of data. But if it was in the context of actually saying, your usage has been this much for the last 2 months, why don't you double it? Would be contextualize it. I think, and the context was raised again and again, and I think the narrative in terms of how we describe the services, rather than describing it in technology terms, which is what we've done traditionally. So move it on, make sure you describe what the outcome is, how it helps an individual or a business. And I think the problem we face there is that it's not just the connectivity, it's storage, it's compute, it's analytics, it's all of those things, and the applications that we use to run our lives. So that begs the question, actually, should we be a component of a solution in many markets, especially the B2B market, where we're not just delivering the connectivity, but we deliver it via a third party. And my question was really around channel, and should we be using different channels to get to the customers and actually reduce the cost of serving the customers for telcos, especially in the SME segment?
Lasha was dying to respond to that. Go ahead, we've got a few minutes left.
Yeah, I'll make just one comment before B2B. You just said a very good use case from today's panel. Yeah, like someone texting if you want to double your data. Do you know when it will be really contextualized and personalized? If that question would have behind not only how much data you use, but really going out of gigabytes and understanding on what you use your gigabytes. If you watch movies, suggest you another 500 movies on specific tailored entertainment platform, or if you use it for some other services, bring that service to you. That's what the difference. And on B2B side, I fully agree with you. The more channels we have to go into the B2B, and today was a big discussion about enterprise solutions. Sometimes we forget that not every SME or even large account has the skill set or the people to implement all services from hyperscalers. They need someone who they trust to help them transform their processes, operations, and make them also successful. That's where telecoms can play the big game.
Telecoms can, but I think that also anybody coming to the table with the other digital building blocks can also do that and take the telco part as part of it. And I think there's also an interesting thing around the SME market where a lot of SMEs would like to work with smaller companies. They don't want to feel as though they're a very small part of served by a very big organization.
Chris, so, I'm getting wound up here.
Okay, but let me just finish that. But the automation of processes within the telco should allow them to treat and to make everybody feel like a loved customer. That as customers we want to feel a bit loved, don't we? And I don't think we've been very good at doing that.
Well, I've got to thank both of you, Chris and Lasha, for this particularly vociferous session. I thought we got through quite a lot, but I just wanted to end up and say that Colin from BT raised an interesting point. He said, surely there would be no digital services without the network. So why are we not shouting that out to the world? We're the network operators, everything depends on us. From Extra Shot, it's Tony Poulos waving off, and we'll see you shortly for the next version. Thank you for being with us.